Here we explore the human experience through the mind, the body, and the soul. Mind Lounge is not about answers. It's about insight. Settle in. Open your mind. Let the conversation begin.
Okay, so check the date. It's January 28th, 2026. We are firmly into the new year. Holidays are done, and we're all back to the weekly trip to the grocery store.
Pilgrimage. Yeah.
Exactly. And I want to talk about one specific part of that trip. You know the aisle. You're standing there in front of the refrigerated case, and you're just staring at what used to be the cheapest, most reliable protein on the planet.
The humble egg. Or, as my bank account calls it now, the luxury orb.
Right. It's just wild. I mean, we all saw the memes a couple of years back, people proposing with egg cartons instead of rings.
We laughed. It was funny then.
It was hilarious then. But here we are, 2026, and the joke is it's not really funny anymore. The whole price floor it's shifted. But this isn't just a deep dive to complain about inflation. The reason I wanted to do this today is because we're looking at this really bizarre paradox.
It's a contradiction that, I have to say, it drives me crazy.
On the one hand, you've got the whole, the wellness world, and they are back on the egg bandwagon hard.
Oh, completely. It's the ultimate superfood again.
It's a superfood. It's a biohack. It's, if you're not eating 4 eggs for breakfast, do you even care about your brain? That's the vibe.
Absolutely. The whole cholesterol scare is, it's dead and buried. The egg is the golden child again.
But then you turn the page and you look at the economics, and the egg is the poster child for everything that feels broken. Supply chain failures, corporate power, and what really feels like just straight up price gouging.
So we're being told you have to eat this thing for your health, but at the same time, the market is screaming, good luck affording it.
And that tension, that's where the real story is.
It is, because if you only look at the price, you're just mad. But if you only look at the biology, you're completely sold on it. The trick is figuring out how to navigate that space in between without getting ripped off.
And without falling for the vegetarian-fed lie, which we will get to. That's maybe my biggest pet peeve in the whole grocery store.
Oh, the label engineering.
Yeah.
It's become an art form.
So here's the plan for today. We're going to do a proper deep dive on this, a full, a 3-course meal, if you will.
I like it.
First, the economics. Why did the price go from cents to dollars, and why hasn't it come back down? Second, the deception. We're going to unpack those labels and figure out why a chicken being a vegetarian is actually a bad thing.
A very bad thing.
And third, the biology. Why, despite all the scams and the price fixing, this little thing might just be the most perfect food that nature ever created.
It's a journey from the corporate boardroom to the factory farm to your own bloodstream.
All right, let's start with the sticker shock. I want to ground this in some real numbers because, human memory's short. We get used to new prices really fast.
You normalize it. Yeah.
I was looking at wholesale data from just 5 years ago. 2021.
The before time.
The before times, exactly.
Yeah.
So back then, if you're looking at wholesale Grado-large eggs, you were seeing a price between, 50 cents and maybe $1.30 a dozen?
Yeah, and economically, that's practically free. That is pennies per serving of high-quality protein. It was by a mile the cheapest animal protein in the American diet.
And today, in our, 2026 reality.
Well, depending on where you live, you're hovering somewhere between $6 and $8 a dozen for just the standard eggs.
Just the basic.
The basics. If you want the fancy ones, the pasture-raised organic, you're easily crossing $10, maybe $12. That's not a fluctuation anymore. That's a whole new regime.
Right, and I think the average person sees that and just thinks, well, inflation. My coffee is more expensive, my rent is more expensive. But this is different. A 500 or 600% increase isn't inflation.
No, that's hyperinflation in one specific sector. If gas prices did that, we'd be paying $15 a gallon. The country would shut down. But with eggs, we just sort of grumbled and paid up.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate for a second. The industry has a very simple, very clear explanation for this. I've read the press releases.
I know the one.
It's nature, it's the avian flu, HPAI.
Highly pathogenic avian influenza.
Yep. So the story is, the flu came, it wiped out millions of chickens, supply collapsed, and so, basic supply and demand, prices had to go up. It was an act of God. Why doesn't that explanation hold water for you?
Because we have data and we have calculators. Look, nobody is denying that HPAI is a real and nasty virus. It kills birds. Millions of birds were culled to stop the spread. That is a fact.
Of course.
But when you look at the scale of that cull and then you look at the scale of the price hike, the math just, it completely breaks down.
Okay, walk me through the percentages.
So during the absolute peak of the crisis years, let's say 2022 through 2024, the actual total egg-laying flock in the United States was only smaller by about 3 to 5% on average.
Wait, hold on a second. Say that again. We're talking about a single-digit reduction in the number of birds.
Yes. A single-digit reduction in the total supply capacity. At its absolute worst point, for a very short time, maybe it dipped a little lower. But on average, year over year, we are missing maybe 1 chicken in every 20.
And that justifies a 500% price increase.
In a healthy, competitive market? Absolutely not. Not even close. But here's the real kicker. Even with that small dip, the total production of eggs in the United States never actually dropped below our per capita consumption needs.
So we never actually ran out.
We never ran out. There was never a systemic shortage. You didn't see empty shelves for months on end. It was a tightness in the market, a pinch. But the industry priced it like it was an extinction-level event for chickens.
It sounds just like what happens at the gas station. You know, oil prices go up a little bit, gas at the pump shoots up a lot, oil comes back down, and the price at the pump just kind of stays there.
It's a classic economic pattern called rockets and feathers. Prices shoot up like a rocket and they drift down slowly like a feather. But in this case, with eggs, the rocket just kept going and the feather seems to have gotten lost.
So we have to ask who benefited from this.
Yeah.
If this was a true catastrophe for the industry, you know, if farmers were really getting wiped out, you'd expect their earnings to be in the toilet.
Exactly. You don't usually make record profits when your factory burns down.
Unless you're Cal-Maine Foods.
The 800-pound gorilla in the egg aisle. They are the largest producer and distributor of eggs in the entire United States. And because they're a publicly traded company, we can look at their books, we can read their SEC filings.
And what did this terrible crisis do for their bottom line?
It was the best thing that ever happened to them. From fiscal year 2021 to 2024, their gross profits went up by 237%.
Wow.
And if you zoom in on just the peak panic, from fiscal 21 to fiscal 23, their profits shot up by 646%.
646%.
I'll give you an even crazier stat. In one single quarter, during the height of the avian flu scare, Cal-Maine made more in net income than they had made in the entire previous fiscal year combined.
That is just staggering. But let me push back one more time. I'm thinking about their costs. Didn't the price of feed go crazy during that time too? Corn and soy were expensive. Diesel for the trucks was expensive. Couldn't those massive profits just be them covering their own rising costs?
And that's the defense they use. They say, look, our inputs are up. And it's true, feed costs were up. Maybe 20, 30% in some cases. But remember, we're talking about a profit increase of over 600%.
The numbers don't line up.
Not at all. Their profit margins expanded massively. That's the key. It means they raised the price of eggs far, far beyond what they needed to just to cover the increased cost of chicken feed. They took a cost increase of, say, a few pennies per dozen, and they passed on a price increase of several dollars.
So they were expanding their margins. They basically used the narrative of inflation and bird flu as air cover to completely reset the profit expectations for the entire industry.
Precisely. And that's where we get to the mechanism of how they keep the prices so high. Because, in a normal capitalist system, if one sector is making insane profits, what happens?
Competitors rush in.
Competitors rush in. If selling eggs is a gold mine, I should be out building a chicken coop right now. Supplies should go up and prices should come back down.
The invisible hand of the market.
Well, the invisible hand appears to be stuck in a pair of handcuffs here. What we're seeing is something economists call supply restriction.
Which is a very polite way of saying not producing enough on purpose.
Look at the historical data. Back in 2015, we had another really bad bird flu outbreak. It was awful. But the national flock recovered to its pre-flu numbers in about 8 months. The industry scrambled to get birds back in the barns because they wanted to sell more eggs.
And this stuff.
We are years into this price cycle, and the flock numbers have been incredibly, suspiciously slow to recover. The argument from consumer groups is that the big players, the top 5 or so producers, they broke the matrix. They had a eureka moment where they realized, wait a minute, we make more money selling fewer eggs at $8 than we did selling a ton of eggs at $2.
So they're prioritizing their profit margin over their sales volume.
It's the completely rational move if you're a shareholder. Why would you rush to flood the market with product if it's going to destroy your pricing power and your record profits?
It's rational for the C-suite, but it's just brutal for the family trying to make breakfast. You're effectively turning a staple commodity into a luxury good.
And that brings us to the bigger structural problem. Why can't someone else just step in? If Cal-Maine is selling for $8, why can't a bunch of small farmers rise up and start selling eggs for $5 and just steal all their customers?
Right. Why isn't the market correcting itself?
Because the market is, for all intents and purposes, rigged. We need to talk about the monopoly problem.
This has to be about consolidation. I mean, we know in the food system in general, it's always just a handful of giant companies that own everything.
It is extreme in the egg industry. But the consolidation, it isn't just at the level of the farms that raise the chickens. It's deeper than that. It's almost existential. It's about the chickens themselves.
You mean the genetics?
The genetics, yes. This is the hidden choke point in the system that almost nobody ever talks about. If you want to start a commercial egg farm, and I don't mean a few chickens in your backyard, I mean a real competitor, you can't just go out and catch some wild chickens.
Right.
You need specialized, high-efficiency, industrial laying hens. These are the birds that have been selectively bred for decades to lay 300 or more eggs a year.
And you can't just buy those at the local feed store.
No. The genetics for, and this is a staggering number, for roughly 90 to 95% of the world's commercial laying hens are controlled by just two companies.
Two for the entire planet.
Essentially, yes, you have the EW Group, which is a German company, and Hendrix Genetics, which is based in the Netherlands.
That sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. Two private European corporations control the source code for most of the world's eggs.
It really does. They own what's called the grandparent stock. They sell the parent stock to massive hatcheries, and those hatcheries sell the actual chicks to the farmers. It's a pyramid. And because giants like Cal-Maine either own their own hatcheries or have exclusive contracts, they control this closed loop.
So a new competitor can't even get the birds to get started.
Not easily, and certainly not at a scale or a price that would let them compete with the giants. But there's another, even more dangerous layer to this. When you have that kind of genetic monopoly, you also have a genetic monoculture.
Meaning all the birds are basically identical.
They're basically clones. Which brings us right back to the bird flu. Why does this virus rip through a barn and kill millions of birds so quickly? Because they are all genetically identical. They have the exact same immune systems, the exact same weaknesses. If one of them is susceptible, all of them are susceptible.
So the consolidation actually creates the fragility in the system, which then leads to the outbreaks, which gives them the public excuse to jack up the prices, which leads to record profits, which they then use to buy up more of their smaller competitors.
You just perfectly summarized the last 4 years of the egg industry. It's a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. And it's exactly why the Federal Trade Commission is finally starting to look at this.
I've heard some rumblings about this, the letters from senators about the cost of living crisis.
Yeah, there's a serious push for the FTC to use a power they have under Section 6B of the FTC Act.
Okay, for those of us who aren't antitrust lawyers, what does Section 6B do?
It's basically a study power. It's a very powerful tool that allows the FTC to compel companies to turn over information, their internal emails, their pricing strategies, their profit margins, their communications with competitors, outside of a formal law enforcement investigation.
So it's the government saying, open your books, show us your receipts, we want to see how you actually set these prices.
Exactly. They're looking for evidence of collusion, or even if it's not explicit collusion, they're looking for what's called tacit coordination, where you don't need a secret meeting in a smoke-filled room. Everyone just watches the market leader, Cal-Maine, and does whatever they do.
It's a serious accusation that they leveraged a public health crisis for profit.
It's extremely serious, and it just changes the way you have to look at that carton of eggs. You're not just paying for the egg anymore. You're paying a kind of monopoly tax.
And here's the crazy part. Even if you're willing to pay that tax, even if you just accept, okay, eggs are expensive now, are you even getting what the label on that expensive carton says you're getting?
Which is the perfect pivot to the second part of our deep dive, the marketing deception. Because if the economics of the egg are rigged, the labels are, half the time, just straight up fiction.
The egg aisle is the wild west of marketing claims. It totally relies on the consumer having good intentions. You want to buy the healthy egg, you want to do right by the chicken, and they know that.
They prey on that.
Let's start with the one that drives me absolutely up the wall, because I'll admit, I fell for it for years. Vegetarian fed.
It sounds so clean, doesn't it? So wholesome.
And it does. I see vegetarian fed and I'm picturing a chicken in a field, pecking at some nice organic kale. It feels premium. So why is it a total scam?
It's a scam because a chicken is not a vegetarian. It's biologically incorrect. A chicken is an omnivore. In fact, if you really want to be accurate, a chicken is a raptor. It's a tiny, fluffy, flightless dinosaur.
A tiny T-Rex.
Exactly. If you've ever seen a chicken in a real pasture, it's not looking for salad. It is hunting. It's scratching in the dirt for worms, for beetles, for grasshoppers, for ticks. I've personally seen chickens catch and eat mice. They crave animal protein.
So when a company puts vegetarian fed on their carton, what are they actually confessing to?
They are confessing loud and clear that their bird was kept indoors its entire life and fed a diet composed almost exclusively of corn and soy.
Which are the cheapest industrial fillers available.
Cheap, usually genetically modified industrial feed fillers. But the problem isn't just that the chicken is, living a sad, boring life. The problem is what that corn and soy diet does to the nutritional profile of the egg that you eventually eat.
This is where we get into the omega fatty acids, right?
This is all about the omegas. Corn and soy are incredibly high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, your body needs a little omega-6, but the modern Western diet is absolutely drowning in it. It's pro-inflammatory. What we really need more of is omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory.
So by forcing the chicken to be a vegetarian against its will, we're basically turning the egg from what should be a balanced food into a little inflammation bomb.
You're dramatically skewing the ratio. A natural egg from a chicken eating bugs and grass has a healthy, balanced, almost 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. A vegetarian-fed egg is heavily, heavily weighted toward the inflammatory omega-6s. So you are paying a premium price for a label that actually makes the product worse for your long-term health.
It's kind of brilliantly evil marketing.
It is. They've taken a cost-cutting measure using cheap corn instead of letting the bird find its own varied diet. And they've successfully spun it as a premium health feature.
Okay, let's move on to the housing labels, because this is the other minefield. Cage-free. It's everywhere now. Fast food chains brag about it. We've switched to 100% cage-free eggs.
And look, I don't want to be overly cynical here. Cage-free is better than a conventional battery cage.
Okay.
In a battery cage, a hen has less space than a single sheet of printer paper. It can't turn around. It can't spread its wings. It is, by any definition, torture.
So cage-free is a step up from that.
It's a small step, but the mental image that the consumer gets from the words cage-free, chickens wandering around a sunny barnyard, that is completely false.
So what does it actually look like?
Cage-free usually means a massive windowless industrial warehouse. They're often called aviaries. You have tens of thousands of birds packed floor to ceiling on these multi-tiered metal platforms. They aren't in individual cages, no, but they are walking all over each other.
Yep.
The ammonia from the waste is choking, the dust is terrible, and the stress levels are off the charts.
I can't even imagine.
It's like living your entire life in a packed subway car at rush hour. And we know that chronic stress floods an animal's body with the stress hormone cortisol.
And that affects the egg we eat.
It absolutely affects the bird's metabolism and the quality of the egg. You are, in a very real sense, eating the biological byproduct of a stressed out animal.
Okay, so then we see the next level up, which is free range.
Yeah.
That sounds better. That implies they go outside.
Implies is the perfect word. The official USDA definition for free range is incredibly loose. It just says the birds must be provided with access to the outdoors.
Define access.
It could be one small little pop-hole door at the far end of a 500-foot-long shed. And that door might lead out to a tiny concrete patio, a porch. That's maybe 10 feet by 10 feet.
For 20 or 30,000 birds.
Exactly. A few of the most dominant, aggressive birds will guard that little door, and the other 19,990 birds inside will never once see the light of day or feel dirt under their feet. But because that door exists, the company can legally stamp free range on the carton and charge you an extra $2.
It's a loophole you could drive a truck through. So if I actually want to buy an egg from a chicken that lives like a chicken is supposed to live, sunshine, grass, bugs, what's the only label that actually matters?
Pasture raised.
Pasture raised.
And specifically, you want to look for a third-party certification, like Certified Humane Pasture Raised. Their standard, for example, is a minimum of 108 square feet of outdoor space per burr.
108 square feet. That's bigger than my first apartment in college.
It's a different universe. It's night and day compared to the 1 or 2 square feet in a cage-free facility. These birds are actually outside, rotating on fresh pasture, foraging, dusting, getting sunlight, living.
And does that actually change the egg itself? I mean, can you see the difference?
Oh, drastically. And you don't need a science lab to see it. You just need your own 2 eyes. It's the yolk test.
I love the yolk test.
Okay, so crack open a standard, cheap, factory-farmed egg, or even a cage-free one. What color is the yolk?
It's pale. It's a pale, kind of flimsy yellow, like a sticky note.
That pale yellow is a dead giveaway. It's the signature of a grain-based diet corn and soy. It's low in vitamins and antioxidants. Now, crack open a true pasture-raised egg next to it. What do you see?
It's orange. It's a deep, vibrant orange. Sometimes it's so dark it's almost red. It looks like a sunset.
That color is pure chemistry. It comes from compounds in the chicken's diet called carotenoids and xanthophylls.
Big words. Break those down for me.
Think of things like lutein and zeaxanthin. These are powerful antioxidant pigments that are found in green grass, in clover, in the exoskeletons of bugs. The chicken eats its natural environment, it digests these pigments, and it deposits them directly into the yolk. That rich orange color is literally a nutritional receipt. It says, I ate a diverse, living diet.
So the color actually is the nutrition.
For the most part, yes, but, and I have to add this caveat, because the industry is always finding new ways to cheat. Some of the big producers have started adding things to the feed of their indoor birds to fake the color.
Of course they have. Like what?
Dried marigold petals, paprika extracts, sometimes even synthetic chemical dyes. They know consumers are catching on to the yolk test, so they want that pasture-raised look without the pasture-raised costs.
So how can we tell if it's real?
You have to triangulate. You look for the pasture-raised certification on the carton and the deep orange yolk inside. If you buy a carton that just says cage-free and the yolks are a crazy neon orange, you should be suspicious. That's probably paprika. But if the bird was genuinely on pasture, that beautiful color is legitimate bioavailable nutrient density.
It's exhausting that we have to be food detectives just to buy breakfast.
Yeah.
But it really sounds like the nutritional payoff is worth it.
It is, because once you fight your way past the rigged economics and the deceptive marketing, you finally arrive at the third part of our story today, the biology. And this is where the news is actually, incredibly good.
The superfood redemption story.
Exactly. If you strip away all the corporate nonsense, the egg itself is a biological masterpiece. It is, with no exaggeration, the most efficient source of protein on Earth, second only to human breast milk.
Now, before we get into praising it, we have to officially bury the hatchet on the 1990s, the Great Cholesterol War.
The dark ages of nutritional science, yes.
I can so clearly remember being told that eating eggs, especially the yolks, was basically asking for a heart attack. The yolk was just a ball of pure cholesterol, and that cholesterol would go directly to your arteries and clog them up. End of story.
That was the hypothesis, the diet heart hypothesis. Dietary cholesterol equals blood cholesterol. It seemed very logical and simple on the surface, but biology is almost never that linear.
So what's the real story?
The real story, which was finally officially acknowledged when the U.S. dietary guidelines completely dropped the restriction on dietary cholesterol back in 2015, is that for the vast majority of the population, the cholesterol you eat in food has very little, if any, impact on the cholesterol levels in your blood.
How is it possible? Where does it go?
Because your liver is much smarter than we gave it credit for. Your liver produces cholesterol on its own every single day. You need it. It's essential for life. It's the building block for your cell membranes, for hormones like testosterone and estrogen, for vitamin D production.
So I eat a couple eggs for breakfast.
Your liver, which is constantly monitoring your bloodstream, sees that incoming cholesterol from the eggs, and it simply says, oh, okay, we've got some coming in from the outside today. Cool, I'll just make less. It downregulates its own production to maintain a balance, a homeostasis.
So the body just balances the books on its own.
It does. We now understand that the real driver of heart disease isn't eating cholesterol, it's chronic inflammation and the oxidation of the cholesterol that's already in your body, which is often caused by high sugar intake, processed vegetable oils, all those omega-6s we were just talking about, and chronic stress. It was never the egg's fault.
Justice for the egg. Okay, so if we're not afraid of the cholesterol anymore, what are we getting? You mentioned protein efficiency.
Right, let's talk about bioavailability. There's a metric called the PDCAS. the protein digestibility corrected amino acid score. It's basically how scientists rank the quality of different proteins.
That's a mouthful.
It is, but it basically asks one simple question. Of the protein you eat, how much can your body actually absorb and use to build its own tissues? You could eat a leather boot, and it technically has protein in it, but your body can't use it, so it scores 0.
Good to know. Don't eat boots.
Right. Well, the egg has a near-perfect score. About 49% of the protein you consume from an egg is converted directly into your own body tissue. That is the highest efficiency of any food source tested other than mother's milk. It's because the egg's amino acid profile is an almost perfect match for what the human body requires.
And this is where I have to confess my second big food sin. The first was believing in vegetarian fed. The second was my egg white omelet phase in the early 2000s.
Oh, we all went there. The sad, white, rubbery, tasteless omelet.
I thought I was being so healthy. I was hacking the system. Pure protein, no fat, no cholesterol.
You were throwing away the entire life force of the egg. It's a nutritional tragedy.
Tell me what I was throwing in the garbage.
Okay, first off, let's bust the protein myth. Everyone thinks the white is where all the protein is, and the yolk is just fat.
Is that not true?
It's completely wrong. The yolk actually contains more protein by weight percentage than the white does. The yolk is about 15% protein, while the white is only about 11% protein.
No way. I did not know that.
It's true, but far more importantly, the yolk is where virtually all of the vitamins and minerals are. The white is mostly just water and one protein, albumin. The yolk. The yolk is nature's multivitamin.
Okay, so run the list. What are we missing when we toss that beautiful orange yolk?
You're missing all the fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Specifically vitamin K2, which is incredibly important and very hard to get. It's the one that directs calcium into your bones and teeth and keeps it out of your arteries.
And you need the fat that's in the yolk to be able to absorb those vitamins in the first place, right?
Precisely. Vitamin A is useless to your body without fat to carry it. Nature brilliantly packaged the nutrient and its delivery system together. Then you've got all the B vitamins, B12, folate, riboflavin. You've got critical minerals like selenium, zinc, and iodine.
And there's that brain compound you mentioned, choline.
Choline, this is a huge one. It's a precursor to acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter that's absolutely essential for memory, mood, and muscle control. Most Americans are chronically deficient in choline. 2 egg yolks provide a massive chunk of your daily requirement.
So by eating the whole egg, I'm literally feeding my brain.
You're feeding your brain and you're feeding your eyes. Those orange pigments we talked about, the lutein and zeaxanthin, they are antioxidants that your body specifically shuttles to the macula of your eye. They accumulate there and act like internal sunglasses, protecting your retina from blue light damage and preventing AIDS-related macular degeneration.
It's really a complete package. So when we throw away the yolk, we're basically eating some watery protein and throwing the actual medicine in the trash.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's a tragedy. Please, everyone, eat the whole egg.
So let's try to put this all together. We have a food that is, by all biological measures, incredibly good for us. It helps our brain, our eyes, our muscles, our hormones. But to get it, we have to run this gauntlet of a rigged economic system and a landscape of deceptive marketing.
It's a real minefield.
So what's the practical advice here? I'm standing in the grocery aisle. I see the $3 carton of pale, sad, factory-farmed eggs. And next to it, I see the $9 or $10 carton of beautiful pasture-raised eggs. What's the real calculation I should be making?
You have to reframe the idea of cost. If you buy the cheap eggs, yes, you're saving $6 or $7 at the register today, but you are buying a product that is potentially pro-inflammatory. You're getting significantly less vitamin D, less vitamin E, way fewer omega-3s.
It's a lower quality fuel for your body.
It is. There was a great study out of Penn State a few years ago that directly compared pasture-raised eggs to conventional factory eggs. The pasture-raised eggs had twice as much vitamin E, nearly 3 times the amount of healthy omega-3s, and 38% more vitamin A.
So that $9 carton is actually more nutrient dense. You're getting more nutritional bang for your buck.
Exactly. It's an investment in your own biology. It's preventative medicine. If you can possibly afford it, the pasture-raised egg is the only one that truly fulfills that superfood promise we hear so much about.
What about for people who are just completely fed up? I mean, really fed up with the price gouging and the lies and the whole system.
Well, there is always the nuclear option.
The backyard coop.
The backyard coop.
Yeah.
We talked about the monopoly. We talked about Cal-Maine and the 2 genetic companies. The only way to truly, completely opt out of that entire system is to own your own means of production.
3 or 4 chickens in a coop in the backyard.
Yeah. If you have the space and the local laws allow it, look, it's not for everyone. It's work. It's a responsibility. But there's a reason you're seeing rent-a-chicken services popping up in suburbs all over the country. People are desperate for food sovereignty and to know where their food is actually coming from.
That's a really powerful final thought. The idea of breaking a global food monopoly, one backyard at a time.
It's the ultimate form of disruption.
Well, this has been a journey. From the stock market to the chicken coop. I don't think I could ever look at an omelet the same way again.
That's the whole point. Eat with your eyes open.
Check your labels, check your yolks, and don't believe the hype. We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Mm-hmm.